7 weeks of war and over 800 American airstrikes on Iranian soil. And J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, flies to Pakistan carrying what the White House called their final and best offer. 21 hours of talks, he walks out empty-handed.
The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America.
So, I have one question, and I want you to hold it the entire video. Who actually won this war? Because what I found when I dug into this, Iran walked into those talks without a single thing to lose. America walked in needing a win. Those two things cannot coexist at a negotiating table. Stay with me. By the end, you will see this completely differently. Now, here is the thing. This story didn't start with Vance boarding a plane to Pakistan. It started with a meeting, a secret one. Now, according to the New York Times on February 11th, 2 months before the ceasefire, Netanyahu walked into the White House Situation Room. One pitch: attack Iran, regime change. Now, here is the detail that got me. He brought a video, an actual video montage of potential replacement leaders for the Iranian government. He was literally showing Trump who could run Iran after the bombing. Now, according to that same reporting, that meeting was what pushed Trump to authorize the strikes. So the war began. 800 plus US airstrikes over 7 weeks. The Pentagon claimed they destroyed 90% of Iranian weapons factories. Senior officials told the war zone, quote, "What little they have left buried in bunkers is all they will have." Strong words. Now, while all that was happening, Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. Your oil prices told you the rest. But here is the detail I need you to hold right now. We are coming back to it. Trump launched this war partly to open the Strait of Hormuz. But the Strait of Hormuz was already open before the war started. Think about it. Now, after 7 weeks of bombing, both sides agreed to a 2 weeks of ceasefire. And Iran immediately put a peace proposal on the table. 10 points. Trump called it, quote, "a workable basis for negotiations." Now, let me tell you what was inside those 10 points, because this is where it gets interesting. Iran wanted all attacks stopped permanently, every sanction lifted immediately, access to billions of assets, compensation for war damage. More to that, they want a legal guarantee. The US could never walk away from a deal the way Trump walked away from the 2015 nuclear agreement. Then, the most sensitive item, Iran explicitly included its right to continue enriching uranium. But here is the twist: that uranium clause, it appears only in the Farsi version, the Persian language text, not in the English translation Western media was reading. According to Le Monde and the New York Times, the English version was quietly updated later to include it too. Now, think about that sequence. Iran gets the deal labeled workable. The enrichment clause is already embedded in the Farsi original. By the time the English version catches up, the framework is already set. Trump has already nodded along. Now, quick question. If Trump called Iran's plan workable, and that plan includes Iran's right to enrich uranium, does that mean the US effectively accepted Iran's nuclear ambitions as a starting point for peace? That's exactly what critics are arguing, because now Washington's story starts falling apart. On Hormuz specifically, listen to the sequence of Trump's statements.
The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it, and we don't need it.
Hindustan Time fact-checked that immediately. The United States imports about 500,000 barrels of oil through that strait every day. Not nothing. Then Trump said other countries should protect it.
The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage. They must cherish it.
Then he threatened Iran, open it or experience hell. Then, after the ceasefire, he announced the US will be helping with the traffic buildup at Hormuz. So, you take an open waterway, you start a war, Strait gets close, you tell others to handle it. Threaten the country that closed it. Then you announce you are managing traffic. Meanwhile, CNN's reporting shows only about 30 vessels crossed Hormuz in the days after the ceasefire. Now, in normal times, hundreds would pass in that same period. And more to that, every ship still goes through with Iranian coordination, Iranian permission. And Iran didn't just close the strait, it turned it into a toll gate. Now, furthermore, on the nuclear file, according to AP reporting, by the time Vance headed to Islamabad, the framework being discussed was far closer to Iran's 10-point plan than America's own wish list. Trump moved off red lines, Iran held its ground. Now, what about the original goal, the one Netanyahu pitched in the February 11th secret meeting, the regime change? Now, after 7 weeks of war, Trump posted on Truth Social that Iran had gone through, quote, a very productive regime change. Now, let's look at what actually happened. The core structure of the Iranian government, still standing, the supreme leadership, intact, the Revolutionary Guard, still running. Key figures are reportedly unalived. But according to AP's reporting and DW's coverage, the system didn't crack. It adapted. You see, Iran's structure works like a hydra. Cut one head off, others come up. And based on multiple analyst assessments, some of the figures emerging are more hardline. Because surviving an American bombing campaign is a political credential in Tehran right now. You see, there haven't been even any one defection. No one senior official have switched sides. According to Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister, Saeed Khatibzadeh, in an interview with the BBC, the war didn't fracture the regime, the destruction breathed new life into it. So when Trump says productive regime change, a different Khamenei-type figure replaced the last one. The revolution didn't break, it hardened. Netanyahu needs a state of constant war to remain in power at home. Analysts inside Israel are saying this openly. So ask yourself, what does actual peace with Iran mean for this government? Keep that thought, because now we need to go inside that negotiation room in Islamabad, where 21 hours of talks ended with both sides walking away from the table. Islamabad, April 10th, Vance lands Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Army Chief General Asim Munir have been running the behind-the-scenes diplomacy, proposing the ceasefire framework, acting as go-between. Now, Pakistan made itself indispensable here, not by accident. Islamabad wants leverage from Washington. It wants to be seen as something more than a US military client. 21 hours, both delegations across the table. Then Vance stepped out and told reporters, "We could not get to the situation where the Iranians were prepared to accept our conditions." He called it America's final and best offer. Iran said no. Final and best offer. That's what you say when you have no room left, when you have given everything you can give. Iran still said no. As Vance's motorcade drove to the airport, Iran was still coordinating every ship entering Hormuz. Nothing had changed on the ground. The ceasefire clock was ticking, and Iran had something Trump's administration didn't. Before going into that room, you see, there is an African proverb: until the lion learns to ride, every story will glorify the hunter. You see, Iran came to Islamabad knowing it was already writing part of the history, and it wasn't done writing. Because here is what almost nobody's talking about. Iran still has so many cards. Hormuz is still under Iranian coordination. No deal changed that. The Houthis in Yemen, they had barely entered this conflict when the ceasefire was called. And that's a second front that Iran can activate any time of its choosing. Before the ceasefire, Iran bombed a pumping station on Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline, That pipeline is the backup route. It moves millions of barrels of oil through the Gulf to the Red Sea, bypassing Hormuz entirely. So Iran didn't just threaten the main route, it also went after the backup. If this war resumes, the Suez Canal, the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, the entire Red Sea corridor, those become the next front line. According to DW's reporting, Iran's stated strategy for a second attack was to widen the geographic scope. More fronts, more choke points, more global pressure. At the UN, China and Russia vetoed a resolution calling for Hormuz to be reopened. China's UN ambassador, Fu Kong, dismissed it directly and referenced Trump's language about destroying an entire civilization. China, which considers itself as a civilization, took this personally. Trump has fewer cards than he is admitting, while Iran on the other side has more than just people accounting, and someone far away from Islamabad is already paying for it. Most Western coverage treat this as US-Iran story, Middle East story, but someone is paying for it, and that someone includes us. The next time a transport fare goes up in your city, think about this. African countries that import oil, Kenya, Senegal, Ghana, Rwanda, most of West Africa are price takers in the global oil market. Nobody calls them, nobody asks. But when Hormuz tightens, they feel it at the pump. When Red Sea shipping gets disrupted, the cost of imported food in East and North Africa climbs. According to CNN's economic coverage and LA Times reporting, higher freight and insurance through the Suez Red Sea corridor is already pushing food import costs up across the continent. Nigeria and Angola get a short-term revenue bump from the higher oil prices, but their citizens still import finished fuel. So even oil exporters feel the pinch. And Gulf investments, Saudi, UAE, Qatari money, they fund ports, energy deals, and infrastructure across Africa. When the Gulf destabilizes, that capital slows down. Africa is not in the room in Islamabad, but Africa is paying the bill. The two waterways most critical to our trade, the Red Sea and Hormuz, can be closed by decisions made in Washington, Tehran, Islamabad, Tel Aviv, with zero input from us. That's not just about this crisis. That's a conversation about African economic sovereignty that we need to be having right now. We just talked about Iran holding cards that most analysts aren't talking about. The Houthis, the backup pipeline, the China-Russia UN veto. There is one more card in this story, and honestly, I think it's the most important piece of the entire Islamabad episode. I didn't include it here, not because it isn't real. It is, but going deep on it will pull us away from the thread we have been building. That piece is in the members pack on Patreon. If you want a full picture, that's where it lives. The link to joining our Patreon is down below in the description. You see, whether you join the Patreon or not, anything you need to understand this story is right here. But if you want to go deeper, the door is open. Now back to our story. The question we started with, who really won this war? Trump wanted three things. One, stop the nuclear program. But Iran's enrichment right is written into its own ceasefire text. No verified rollback. Two, change the regime. The system adapted. Hardlines are rising, not one defection. Three, open Hormuz. Right now, Iran coordinates every ship. Every ship that goes through the strait is under Iran's consent, not American forces. Now, on the other side, what does Iran want? Iran wants to survive. It did. It wants to keep its nuclear leverage. It has it. It wants to walk into any negotiations as the side with something to offer, not the side begging for terms. Vance went to Islamabad needing a win. Iran went having already won enough to say no. And this is not over. The ceasefire clock is still running. Hezbollah says it will respond to every Israeli strike. The Houthis are barely in, Pew Research polling shows 60% of Americans now hold an unfavorable view of Israel, up from 53% the year before. 59% have little or no confidence in Netanyahu. Now, Trump was pulled into this war. It's not playing well at home. Now, there is a proverb: until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. In the story of this war, who is writing the peace framework? Iran wrote the first draft, put the enrichment clause in first, made Hormuz a bargaining chip. And when the Trump administration walked in with its final offer, Iran said no and walked out with everything it came in with. You see, that's strategy and it worked. So here is what I want from you. In the comments, if you were advising Trump right now, what's the one move you are going to make? And if you were advising Iran, same question. Let's make this a real strategic conversation. I'll be reading every comment. If something in this video changed how you see this story, share it with one person today. I'm Asongwe Luis. This is Africa Today. You are watching The Strategic Lens. I will see you in my next video. If you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you haven't liked, I don't know what you're waiting for. See you in my next video. Bye.